On behalf of the Salt Lake County Stormwater Coalition, I'd like to get started with the afternoon session of the Water Quality Fair. My name is Bob Thompson, and I manage the Salt Lake County Stormwater and Watershed programs. I'd like to welcome you to the 2022 Water Quality Fair. We're so excited to work with almost 3,000 students from across all areas of the Salt Lake Valley. The stormwater and water quality professionals who are presenting today have chosen to host this event and share their knowledge with you because you are the future stewards of our natural resources. We feel it is critical to share our experiences with you to emphasize the importance of taking care of our water. Residents of the Salt Lake Valley are incredibly lucky that much of our water falls from the sky as snow, then melts in the spring and flows downstream into our lakes and reservoirs, which we can use for drinking water, recreation, and for wildlife. Unfortunately, we don't always get as much snow as we would like, so it's incredibly important to take care of the water that we have. Today, we're going to learn from people who spend their entire careers trying to manage our water resources, and specifically, they're trying to keep pollution out of our water. The type of pollution we'll be discussing today is called stormwater pollution. This type of pollution occurs when rain or snow falls on the ground and hits impervious surfaces like concrete or asphalt, or even the roofs on houses. It doesn't absorb into those surfaces, so it runs downhill and usually ends up in gutters, which drain to underground pipes called storm drains. These drains empty into the nearest lake or stream, carrying all of the water and anything else that was on the pavement or in the gutter. I think we can all imagine the types of yuck that can be in the gutter. We can also imagine how many miles of gutters exist in the Salt Lake Valley. Far too many for just a few stormwater professionals, like the ones you will meet today, to clean up. The most important message we can leave you with today is that it's up to all of us to do our part to keep stormwater clean. Pick up after your pets. Sweep fertilizer and grass clippings back onto your lawn. Please don't litter, and pick up litter you find and place it in a garbage can or recycling bin. Convince your parents to wash their cars at commercial car washes where the water is collected and treated before it's released back into the environment. And never, never, never dump anything into a storm drain. Those are for clean stormwater only. If we all do our part, we can keep our water resources clean. Remember, we all live downstream. I hope you have a great time with our talented water professionals today and enjoy the Water Quality Fair. The first presentation will start with Michelle. She's going to talk about watersheds. So Michelle, I'll turn the time over to you.
Hi, I'm happy to be with you today. I've taught middle school age students for over 30 years, and so I'm happy to be a part of talking about something as important as water. We know it's a precious resource. We can't live long without it, of course. We want today's activities to make you think about your actions as they relate to this precious resource today, but not just today, every day. So as Bob mentioned, we're going to talk about watershed. It wouldn't be a science class without a few definitions. So what exactly is a watershed? Every single person on Earth lives in a watershed. The word almost defines itself. We all know water, and shed refers to how water flows as it reacts to gravity and topography. So a watershed is an area of land where all of the water that drains off of it goes to its lowest point, like a river, a lake, or a stream. If we live near the coast, that would be the ocean. Here along the Wasatch Mountains, we're a part of the Jordan River watershed, where the mountain tributaries feed into the Provo River, Utah Lake, Jordan River, and the Great Salt Lake, where the Great Salt Lake is the final destination or the lowest point, where the Jordan River watershed is 51 miles long. Bob also mentioned to you stormwater. Let's just think about that for 1 second longer. Again, this water is not treated. Stormwater is some of our fresh water that originated from a storm, rain, hail, sleet, or snowmelt. Once it hits the ground, it becomes stormwater. Stormwater either sinks into permeable surfaces that absorb water, like our lawns, gardens, or other ground surfaces that can absorb it. And this is good because then the water seeps in to lower levels where it percolates and it actually cleans the water. Or it hits those impermeable surfaces that Bob mentioned, surfaces like streets, sidewalks, rooftops, parking lots, and roads, where it just runs off, taking whatever is in its path right into our gutters and our storm drains, and they go directly to our rivers, lakes, and streams. We've all seen the force of that. Sometimes it can happen very quickly, dragging all kinds of things, seen and unseen, into our gutters and in turn down our storm drains. So this precious fresh water that falls into our watershed, where does it come from? We need a tiny review of the water cycle because it is simply a miracle. The water cycle is the Earth's amazing process of turning our salt water into fresh water so that we can use it to sustain our lives. It is the continuous movement of water in and around our planet and atmosphere. Powered by the sun, water evaporates, which then condenses into clouds, and then it precipitates back to the earth in the form of rain or snow. Thankfully, this wonderful fresh water just falls right into our watershed areas. So we're known as the blue planet. There's water everywhere, right? But remember, most of that water is ocean water or salt water that we can't use to drink or water our animals or our crops with. So how much of the water on our globe is fresh water? Here's something you just have to know, okay? Think about the globe. Again, so much water, water everywhere. It's hard to figure out how much of it's fresh water. I'm seeing mostly ocean water. So one way to think about it is think of all the water on our earth as 100% or a $100 bill. We can't drink or use the ocean water or use it to grow our food. So how much of the earth's water is fresh water that falls into our watershed? I know you're seated, but seriously, grab hold of your desk. When I learned this fact, it forever changed how I treat and use this precious, precious resource. Only 1% of all the water on our globe is fresh water. And not all of that is currently flowing into our watershed because it's still somewhere transitioning in that continuous cycle. And it's still vapor or clouds up in the sky, or it's in its solid form as glacial ice. So only 1/3 of 1% or 33 cents out of that entire $100 bill is fresh liquid water that falls into all of the watersheds on our entire earth. That's the water we need to drink, water our crops and animals, as well as recreate on, like swimming, fishing, and boating in our rivers, lakes, and streams. So let's get busy making our watershed models, all while thinking about what actions that we can take to protect that fresh water in our watersheds every day, because we all live downstream. Okay, you have some materials, and we're going to move pretty quickly, so don't panic if you fall behind because you can finish up after this. You should have a file folder, a piece of computer paper, at least 5 colors of markers, some tape, and your teacher probably has a spray bottle. That should be set to its finest mist. I'm going to angle the camera down so you can see my desktop now. And you'll want to take, someone needs to take the file folder and start folding up the edges like this. It's going to feel like a cooking show where part of the stages are just you don't need to stress about measuring or making it perfect. Just take about a 1/2 inch or an inch to fold it up and push on it hard, and then flip it up. It looks kind of like a cookie sheet. Another person in your team will take the computer paper and just smush it up into a wad. Not too tightly because you don't want to rip it when you open it, but some of those creases really make them crisp, because when we open it, this is where our imagination comes in. We're going to have a topographical map where you can have to imagine, I'll show you this one because I kind of have that set up a little bit better, that this is a mountain chain like our mountains, and the lower parts might be our valley. Okay, you also need to just kind of put some tape. I put tape right here in the corners to hold it up, just to keep that definition so it doesn't flatten completely down. We wanted those nice crisp ridges, so we don't want them to go away. The next thing, you're going to have a person take the blue, and start coloring the ridge lines of all those little places that are the high peaks of our mountains. So again, like the cooking show, I'll show you the stage that we're talking about now. So obviously, you can't work quite as fast as I can. Let me turn it this way. I think you'll get a better idea. But while you're coloring, just to review, if we use our imagination for this to be a topographical map, we said that watersheds are affected by gravity and topography. So when it rains or precipitates into our watershed, we might anticipate, or you might can forecast, that the water will hit the ridge line and some will run this direction. Some of the water will run down this way. Perhaps some of the topography of the land will collect it into little lakes, mountain lakes, and so forth. So just keep coloring those ridge lines. And you won't wet yours yet, but while you're trying to get caught up to this point, I'm just going to give you an example of if it precipitates, I have a hard time saying that word. It's raining in my watershed. I want you to see what starts to happen. It might be exactly what you predicted. Hopefully you can see that gravity's taking some of the water this direction. This is actually a different little watershed as opposed to this watershed where it's going down and forming a stream or a lake over here. So in this one giant watershed area, you can also, oh great, my water bottle decided to choke. There we go. There are many other watersheds within the one big main area. Okay, I have a next layer, so don't wet yours yet. Like I said, you're probably still coloring the blue ridges, which is fine. But we did say we want to think about your actions today and how they relate to the watershed. So before you wet yours, we're going to talk about what it looks like in our urban areas where we live and our daily lives. Let me turn it this way. I think it'll be a better view. This is where you're going to use some of the different colors. And I'll tell you why I picked the colors that I chose. So again, you have the blue ridge lines along the mountain. And then I also added some different colors. In our urban areas, of course, we have to farm and use fertilizers. So I made those areas green, and around our homes too, green fertilizer and green lawn. I chose the color brown to add some area up in here. This is where we might have logging, where we cut down trees to build our homes, or perhaps there was a forest fire that exposed some of that earth. I also chose all the human activity, just the color black, just so it would be different. I drew mountain bikes and people biking and hiking and canoeing down in the valley, or our roadways and our cars. And we've got people over here camping. And then I chose a different color still for our homes because I thought, well, we have lots of chemicals in our home that we do not want to wash down our gutters because our gutters go straight down the storm drain. So the concept here is just instead of the beautiful clear blue water in the mountain range that we saw of the watershed, the higher portion of the watershed, this part is the lower area, like our Wasatch Front, where you and I really interact with our watershed. So obviously, if I make it precipitate here, you're going to get the idea that it's not just crystal clear blue water anymore. Those colors are going to all mush together, and you get a sense of how our human activity can get in the way of keeping the water as fresh as we'd like to keep it. Remember, you might not get all this done in this time, so you can make sure to finish it up in a moment or as the day progresses. And just remember, our activities along the watershed affect everyone because we all live downstream.
Hi, everyone. I'm next. Thanks so much, Michelle, for sharing. I will be talking to you guys today. First, let me introduce myself. Hi. Thanks again, everyone, for joining. My name is Hannah Murphy. I work for the Salt Lake County Watershed as a watershed planner scientist, and I do a variety of different things for the county, from data collection and in streams, collecting water quality data, I do restoration work, and I'm going to talk to you guys today about two different things, bugs, specifically macroinvertebrate bugs in the water, and pH scale. So pH meaning how basic or acidic water is. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. But first, I want to tell you guys about macroinvertebrates. So that is the kind of bug we collect all throughout the valley in streams and rivers. We do have lakes, obviously in Salt Lake County, but we collect macroinvertebrate data. So if we break that word up, there's kind of two parts: macro meaning big, and invertebrate meaning without a spine. So we as humans have vertebrae, so we have a spine. However, these bugs do not. So macroinvertebrates, they, like I said, live all over. They live in streams, they live under rocks, they live in a variety of different watersheds in our area. And they're really important because they tell us a lot about the quality of the water, whether it's good or bad, or other parameters that we want to know about so that we can take care of our waterways and figure out what's going on in them, basically. These bugs also, too, I want to tell you guys, they're really important as far as the foundation for what we call the web of life, or the trophic web. Basically, that means food at the bottom of the pyramid for other animals. So when we think about bugs in water, obviously fish need bugs to survive, to eat. And then on a grander scale, think about what eats the fish. So birds likely eat fish on occasion. The bugs are really the foundation, and they help the rest of the pyramid or the food chain, so to speak. Different bugs too also like different kinds of water. So some might like a low pH or a higher pH, or something in the middle, what we call neutral. There are two bugs today I want to talk to you guys about, and everyone should have what we call the macroinvertebrate key, and I'll hold it up here. I think everyone should have a copy in their groups or in their classroom at least. And there are two bugs specifically we're going to talk about today, and I want to point them out on this chart. They're actually right next to each other, one being the caddisfly and one being the mayfly. And although these are kind of classified in a similar group, being one or two tails and then without wings, they might not necessarily like the same kinds of water. And that's what our experiment today is going to help us figure out. I also have some pictures I'm going to attempt to share with you guys, just so you guys can get an idea of what these bugs actually look like out in the environment. So this first one, this is our caddisfly, and that's under a microscope. Again, macro, even though it means big, these are generally small, and they have to be seen under a microscope, because when we pull up a rock in the water, they're tiny, tiny bugs, and we want to collect what kinds and what variety. The second one is this, the mayfly, and this is a mayfly larva, and there's a few different pictures there. Those are different stages of life. So in the bottom right corner, probably you see like a younger one or a smaller sized one. Again, I want to point out the variety of the bugs depend on the water quality, and it indicates to us what kind of water we're going to have based on what bugs can tolerate what. So we're going to move on to our experiment portion of the presentation, and everyone in the groups in the class should have some materials, and I'm going to lay out all the materials and explain kind of what we're going to do, give everyone a chance hopefully to get their materials if they do not. The other form you guys should have is a pH chart. And for those that don't know what a pH chart is, basically a pH chart tells us how acidic or how basic something is, water is specifically. Basic can also mean alkaline, so the word alkaline on your chart also indicates basic. And the range goes from 0 to 14, 7 being neutral. So water is generally a 7. It can be towards the acidic side, a low pH, or towards the high side, a higher pH. So thinking back before we start, think about those two bugs, the caddisfly and the mayfly. Consider what kind of water they might want to live in. So we should have our materials, and I'm going to lay everything out, but the first thing, I'm going to turn this down so everyone can see it. The first thing we're going to have is our 3 cups. So we'll put those out in front of us. We should have just any container of water, and maybe there's a pitcher or someone in the group should have just any container of water. We will have a pipette, potentially 1 or 2 pipettes. We'll have a few stirring sticks, and 1 or 2 is fine. We will also have our pH papers, and that comes in a book of 80, so there should be plenty in that for all the groups. And if you don't, I guess just divide them up, but we'll need 3 for this experiment. And then we'll have our 2 test tubes. We'll have our lemon juice test tube and our laundry detergent test tube. So taking the water, let's take the water first, and we're going to fill each of the cups about halfway full, no more than that. It can actually be a little bit less. Okay, so we should have our 3 cups full, about halfway or a little less. And the first experiment we're going to do is with the left cup, and that's going to be the lemon juice. So thinking back to your pH chart, consider what lemon juice might be on here. We're going to find out, but we're going to take the lemon juice and we're going to pour the whole test tube in the first cup, like so. And you can give that a good stir. If you want to use the pipette, you can. The second cup we're going to leave totally blank because that's our what we call in the field our field blank. We want to be able to test that against what normal water would be. And remember, water is going to be generally 7 on the pH scale. The third cup on our right, we're going to use the laundry detergent. And you can use the pipette for this. You can also use one of the sticks, but you just want to make sure you get all of the laundry detergent in the cup. And it's generally going to get stuck. So I use this scraper to scrape it all out. There's quite a bit in there. And then you want to give that a really good stir. Laundry detergent's pretty strong, so we want to make sure we have it all mixed in. Okay. Then we are going to take our pH test strips, and we're going to take 3, 1 for each cup. And so you can rip a few off. They come in perforated sheets, and I'm going to separate mine now. Here's 1. I'll put it in front of the lemon cup, 1 in front of the regular cup, and then 1 in front of the laundry detergent cup. So to test pH, we are going to just simply stick the pH strip in the lemon cup, just out, in and out, and that's it. And you can see it changing color, and you can set that just in front or behind your cup, whatever's convenient for you. The second pH strip we're going to put in our water, and it's a simple dunk in and out, and just leave it right in front of the test cup. Our third cup, we'll take our third pH strip and simply dunk it in the laundry detergent and leave it like so. And while those are drying for a minute, I want you guys to consider what kind of water the caddisfly may like. Also to consider what kind of water the mayfly may like. They're gonna kind of vary from bug to bug. However, I'm going to tell you guys that the caddisfly generally would like a low pH. Mayflies like a high pH. It depends on their preferred habitat, but this is just 2 of many kinds of bugs. There are hundreds and hundreds of bugs we collect data for and try and figure out like what kind of water quality is going to be indicated. So as those are drying, we can take our pH test, our pH scale, and you can actually just hold the pH test strip up to the paper. That's how I find it easiest. So the lemon juice ended up being maybe between a 3 and a 4, kind of approaching a 5. So definitely on the acidic side of things. The water is looking fairly neutral, a 6 or a 7, which is pretty good for general water. And then we have our laundry detergent. And our laundry detergent isn't quite as basic as we were thinking. It's generally between an 8 and a 9. But that also depends on the concentration. So if we had a little more laundry detergent in the cup, it might be more on the basic side. And remember, the caddisflies would be generally like a low pH. They would like more of an acidic water. I just want to point out again, that kind of concludes our experiment, but I just want to point out that, again, these bugs, they might prefer different environments. However, the indication of the water quality, or excuse me, the indication of the water quality depends on the bugs. Without the bugs, we won't be able to say, hey, is this water acidic or basic? Is this water high in pH, low in pH, and several other water quality parameters. I want to thank you guys for playing along in this experiment with me. And if you have any other questions, please feel free. There might be some follow-ups to this one, and I'm happy to answer them. But please feel free to get on the Stormwater. It would be Stormwater Coalition page. And I believe you guys should have a Google form to complete after today's presentations. But our website is stormwatercoalition.org/fair, FAIR, for today's presentations. Thanks so much, guys. I'll turn the time over to the next presenter.
Hi, everybody. My name is Greta Hamilton. I work for Salt Lake County Stormwater. For the stormwater program, I visit construction sites, and all the construction sites are permitted through the EPA, and I go out and inspect those to make sure that they're not polluting the stormwater. So construction sites are really easy to regulate, but we can't regulate people. So that's where we need you guys, where you guys come in and help us. Help us educate people, help perform simple acts to prevent stormwater pollution. What we're going to work on today is the scavenger hunt. And if you guys want to take that page out and just take a minute to familiarize yourself with it, and you'll want to work on this while I'm talking. There's 5 simple acts on here that are the Stormwater Coalition's like best management practices. These are simple acts that you can do. And if you want to just take a second, go through and see how many you can get. There's 5. Help your friends. Really simple, easy tasks to help prevent stormwater pollution. And if you don't know and your friends don't know, it's okay. We'll go over them. All right. Ta-da, here are the answers. Here are the 5 simple tasks. Bag and trash your pet waste. Pick up and throw away trash. Recycle plastics. Use household chemicals sparingly, safely dispose of them. Fix auto leaks and recycle oil. And finally, mulch or compost grass, leaves, and yard debris. And one of the scavenger hunt questions asks about best management practices. It says, what are BMPs? That's office lingo, and it's a freebie for you guys. So it's on the top row if you just want to fill in best management practices. All right. These are our storm drains. You guys have probably seen hundreds of these. And like Bob mentioned, the biggest difference between storm drains and sewer is that the water that goes down storm drains is not treated. Hint, hint, this is a question on your scavenger hunt. Stormwater does not get treated. And it's these storm drains actually connect directly to our waterways. So if you live in Salt Lake City, most of these will flow into Red Butte, Jordan River. And then, of course, anytime it rains, it snows, sprinklers overwater your lawns, the water takes everything and all the pollution and everything with it and goes right down these storm drains. They're everywhere, and they are very, very important to protect. There's some options on the scavenger hunt to sketch a storm drain, but you'll probably want to save the sketching stuff till after we're done, so you have a minute to do more than a stick figure, which is probably about all I would be capable of drawing. All right, speaking of stick figures, doesn't really have anything to do with trash. But think about all the trash that you walked past on your way to school this morning. Probably walked past cigarette butts, wrappers, plastic bottles. Um, you know, the simple act of picking up trash, it prevents water flow problems. It helps prevent bank erosion in the waterways. It prevents water contamination, and also it prevents the wildlife from eating it. On your scavenger hunt, think of it, write down an action that you can take when you see trash. And hint, hint, it's just going to be the easiest one to do is pick it up, even if it's not yours. We also, when I was a kid, we were taught to reduce, reuse, and recycle. And we know that recycling is not sustainable in the long run. So the best options are really to reduce and reuse. Think about some of the things that you use every day that are reusable items: backpacks, grocery bags, mugs, straws, plates, forks, spoons, and just take a second on your scavenger hunt to write down something that you use every day over and over again. Household chemicals. I don't know how many of you clean your own houses or help your parents clean the house, but most of these are toxic to both humans and animals. You really want to make sure that you're following the instructions for every one of these products. A few of them might be like bleach, bug spray, antifreeze, nail polish remover. Take a second and just write down one that you use in your house on a regular basis. There's also an option that is free and safe for disposal of these household chemicals when they're no longer good or you don't need them anymore. You can just take them to the Salt Lake County household hazardous waste disposal, which is at the dump, and it's free to take the stuff there, and they will dispose of it safely. So never, ever, ever put it down the drain. Wash it. Don't put it in the storm drain either, because then it's going right into the water, and those toxic chemicals will immediately kill whatever it comes into contact. So it's never okay to dump anything down the drain. Driving. Who's thinking about driving? Have you guys thought about what it's going to look like when you drive? Cars are so smart nowadays that most people don't do their own repairs, but there's still plenty of people who do. Two of the biggest causes of pollution from automobiles are car washing and leaking fluids. And you probably think like, I don't drive yet. How does this affect me? Well, it doesn't necessarily, but there are things that you can do to help remind your parents or grandparents or whoever's working on the car or just the car sitting leaking. One way to clean up automobile spills is to put kitty litter down and then sweep it up and put it in the garbage. The kitty litter will absorb it right out of the concrete. And then with car washes, modern car washes recycle their water, and the water that doesn't get recycled gets treated in the sewer system. So when you wash your car at home, even chemicals, even soaps that are like called safe or natural, once they combine with the grease and the metals and the fluids from the cars, they're no longer safe and they're no longer natural, and they are big causes of pollution. So if your parents are washing the cars at home, have them move the car to the grass where at least stuff has time to filter out before it gets into the water. The next thing we have is the yards. You guys probably are not in charge of putting the fertilizer down, but think about the times when you've been walking on the sidewalk and you see the little green balls of fertilizer on the sidewalk. I know when I was a kid, I thought that they were bug eggs. And come to find out as an adult that they are actually, that's the fertilizer. And with those all over the sidewalk, as soon as they get wet, they're just gonna float with the water right down into the storm drain. The problem with this is once it reaches the stream, it increases nitrogen and phosphorus, which has a really negative effect on the ecosystems. The other problem with yard work is grass clippings and leaves. And you guys are probably like, well, what's the problem? Because they're natural, right? The problem is that we've built so much concrete, they don't have anywhere to decay anymore. So when it rains, these all go right down into the stream. And when they decay in the streams, then they're using up all the dissolved oxygen that the macros and the fish need to survive in the water. They also causes flooding when the storm drains get full of leaves and grass clippings, which can cause for some angry neighbors. What can you guys do about this, right? You're probably like, we don't do the yard work. You can help an adult sweep it up. You can also help explain to an adult what the problem with this is. We get lazy and we forget stuff, and sometimes we need to be reminded. And you guys are inheriting this earth, and so you're kind of being put in charge to keep us in line, to make sure we're doing the right things so that we don't make it any worse. Yay, poop. That's what we all say when we step in it, right? Yeah, right. No, me either. It is aggravating and unsanitary. And again, people ask, what's the problem? It's natural. Animals poop. The problem is when animals have a meat diet, they're also ingesting the bacteria and parasites, and they are also excreting those bacteria and parasites. This high bacteria, which is mostly, we usually call it E. coli. There's several different types, but E. coli is kind of an all-encompassing. When those bacteria levels get really high, it makes it really unsafe for swimming, recreation. If you think about, hopefully you've never had it, but if you think about the very worst food poisoning you've ever had, you have probably met E. coli. Hopefully you haven't, and hopefully you never will, but most people, I think, get it at least once in their life. E. coli is responsible for 260,000 illnesses every year and 100 deaths, which is, that's crazy high. Your chances of having bad food poisoning are pretty high. Sorry, guys. Let's talk about our local streams. This is in your scavenger hunt in two places. There's a local streams part, and there's also an impaired stream part. And unfortunately, all the streams below I-215 and east of the Oakers, we are all impaired. That's Immigration, that's Mill Creek, that's Big Cottonwood, Little Cottonwood, Midas Creek, Rose, and the Jordan River. Those are all impaired with E. coli. What can you do? Hopefully you are bringing bags with you, and if not, there's a lot of places that will have bags available to you. But the best thing you can do is bag it and throw it away. Don't leave it on the ground, because then you're plastic pollution and E. coli pollution. So it's a double whammy there if you're bagging it and just leaving it on the ground. So last thing, the very last corner on your scavenger hunt, you'll want to circle yes. And that is your pledge to protect water. It's your pledge to not waste it, help keep storm drains clear, and most importantly, help educate others, because that's all we have to combat stormwater pollution from a county standpoint. And then lastly is to report dumping. It's not going to call the cops on anybody. What it does is, if it's in Salt Lake County, it'll probably be me, but it gets somebody out there to help clean up these spills before they make it to our streams. And that phone number is 801-580-6681. And again, that if you see anybody dumping ever, please call that number. And now I'm going to turn it over to Carrie to talk to you guys. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Greta. So I'm Carrie Cutler. I do outreach for the Stormwater Coalition, and I am really excited. I have something to share with you today, which is the announcement of the 2022 Water Science and Engineering Competition for 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. The competition will open on September 15th, and we invite 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students to come up with a solution to one of the threats or challenges to our water supply or our water quality, many of which you heard about today. And then to enter, you would make an amateur video, probably on a phone, and then upload it. We'll send out more information about this as the new school year begins, as the competition opens September 15th. And then you have plenty of time to work on the videos, because they're not due until November the 18th. And then the 1st of December, we'll announce the awards. The awards are, there's a $100 gift card that's an Amazon gift card for each of the categories. And the grand prize winner, it's a $250 gift card from Amazon. It's very exciting for me to know that last year's winner from 6th, 7th, and 8th graders was a 6th grader who made a video. His challenge that he selected was that he was worried about our water, the amount of water that we have available, worried about water shortages. And so he made a video about doing a shower timer, and he actually created a prototype and showed it in his video. And the judges thought it was so great that they gave him the grand prize, which was that $250 Amazon gift card. Plus, he can say that on all of his future job applications and his college applications, that he was the winner of the 2021 Water, Science, and Engineering competition from Salt Lake County. So stay tuned for more information about that as we round out of the summer. And I hope that you enjoyed your time today. And I'm going to turn it over to Josh.
Thank you, Carrie. Hey, who doesn't want $250? I do. My name is Josh. I work with the Stormwater Group at Salt Lake County. I also help run the Salt Lake County Stormwater Coalition. This group is made up of cities throughout Salt Lake Valley, and we work together to try and help keep our stormwater clean. We also work as a team to provide education and information to people in our community. And so one of those ways is by having our annual water quality fair, which you've all been a part of today. So I want to thank you all for participating in our water quality fair. And let's just do a quick recap of what we learned today. Michelle was able to help us create our own watershed and to show us how we all live downstream. Hannah turned us into scientists and taught us all about bugs and pH and how rivers and streams are impacted by stormwater. And lastly, Greta guided us through the stormwater scavenger hunt and taught us how we can all do our part to keep our stormwater clean. And so now I want to turn it over to you guys, to our teachers and students. What I want you to do is talk about what you've learned. As a class, tell your friends, tell your parents, your neighbors perhaps. Every day when my kids get home from school, I like to bug them and bother them and ask them what they learned at school that day. And this would be a great opportunity to share and maybe even quiz your parents, test them, see if they know what a storm drain is, see if they know what stormwater is. Because now you all have the information and we want you to go share and help spread that education so that other people can learn all the valuable and important lessons you did about water quality today. So I want to thank all of our teachers, thank all of our students who participated. I hope you'll join us next year. We hope to get bigger and even better as the years go on. And on behalf of everyone at the Salt Lake County Stormwater Coalition, thanks for joining us. Hope you guys have a great day. Thank you.